you. Hello, everyone. I'm Susan Dadian, Director of Artistic Planning here at CMA. And so good to see all of you. Some of you are names only, but if you want to come on and say hello via your screen, that's great. Otherwise, we're just happy to have you here. And thank you so much for signing up for today's presentation. We're very busy in the grants department, and I am going to turn the conversation over to our Director of Grant Programs, José Feliciano. Thank you, José.
Hi, everyone. Thanks for the wait. Sorry to keep you waiting. I was just having some issues with some uploads and updates, and of course, I decided to do it in the 2 minutes before we logged in. So I'll be working to just make sure everything's working smoothly with the presentation. But I'm excited to present today on not just our current work, but our immediately upcoming work that'll take the place of the first 2 quarters of 2026. So basically from today, moving on through the end of our fiscal year, which is June 30th. So looking at what the other 2026 grant programs are and giving you not just a sneak peek, but sort of a brief dive into some of the new engagements that you'll be able to participate in as members. And let me just pull everything up on my end. All right. Here we go. Everyone should be able to see my screen right now. And I'm just going to start us from the beginning right here. So thank you for coming to today's member sneak peek for CMA Grants and Programs. Most of you know me, José Feliciano, Director of Grant Programs here at CMA. And really, we're going to cover a range of things today. Like I mentioned, I'm really excited for what we're about to cover. We'll be looking at the 2026 New Jazz Works grants, which most of you are familiar with. The new 2026 Empowerment, Impact, and Growth grants, which I'm happy to give you the preview on. We're going to be announcing these soon in the upcoming weeks. So it's great to be able to give you that sneak peek. We have another program called the CMA Impact Accelerator, which we'll be talking about CMA's professional network, which most of you have seen in some way, shape, or form floating around in the accent, but I'll be able to give a little more detail about what that involves. A reminder about the CMA conference, and then some reminders about other CMA support. And just a reminder, definitely use the chat. The chat is your friend to submit questions via chat until the end. And then I'll do a walkthrough for what that's going to look like for us in terms of just answering questions, making sure that we can have a little bit of talk back. So for today's conversation, some tips for crafting good questions and good conversation. Speak from the I. Don't disclose confidential information. Try to phrase questions in a general way that helps more learners here on the call. And remember that we're all learning new things today and getting new reminders. But some of us might be more familiar with some of the programs that I'll be talking about, some of us less familiar. So just be aware that everyone's in different stages of learning and knowing. So let's dive right in. Lay of the land, CMA grants and programs from December 2025 through June 2026. A reminder before we dive in. Today is the deadline to present or perform at CMA's annual conference. So we are currently accepting applications for performances and proposals for sessions during the CMA National Conference that's happening August 20th through 22nd, 2026. And please note that only CMA members can apply to perform or propose a conference session. Make sure to use the links below to submit and to get an application for the page download. And those links are actually going to be in your CMA Accent newsletter. So you'll see them in last week's Accent, and you'll see them in the upcoming Accent as well. And those proposals, as I mentioned, are due this Thursday, December 4th, 2025. Also upcoming for next week, the starts of the sneak previews, right? Advocacy 101 for musicians, administrators, and presenters will be happening next week, Thursday, December 11th, 2025. It'll be at 1 p.m. in the afternoon. And really, this is all about how we reach out to others. So advocacy sounds scary to some folks, but once you get into it and do the work, you realize it's really about educating and informing, which in a lot of ways we do every single day in day-to-day conversations, things of that nature. For musicians, really that looks like musicians, presenters, chamber music professionals talking about what they know, which is music, their audiences, their communities. And right, all of us are uniquely positioned to be able to talk about the value and impact of music, not just in our professional lives, but in our personal lives. So this webinar with Rufus Durham, who works with the Connecticut Arts Alliance and is Connecticut's representative to the NEA, will be looking at the work that musicians, presenters, and other chamber music professionals can do to learn various tools and techniques to explain that value of chamber music to elected officials, to the public, and also to the media, right? To those important stakeholders that help make the decisions in our communities that impact us all. So 2026 grant programs, there's two major programs that we'll be looking at for the spring upcoming. That will be the Empowerment, Impact, and Growth Grants, which I'll jump into, which is for jazz ensembles and ensembles working on new recordings. And then the New Jazz Works, which is for jazz composers, and that's towards the creation, performance, and or recording of a new work. We do have some things under development for classical commissioning, but those are so nascent right now that we don't have them as part of this presentation, but we will have more information forthcoming about those in early in the year in January, February of 2026. So for those folks who are classical folks, we do have some information that will be geared a little more towards that. Not necessarily in this session, but it will still be forthcoming. And there's still lots of important things in this particular session that are not just jazz related, which will be coming up soon. So 2026 New Jazz Works will be an echo of previous programs that we've had through New Jazz Works. It's really exciting for us on the jazz front because the New Jazz Works program turned 25 this year. So it's been 25 years of supporting jazz musicians and the jazz chamber community for Chamber Music America. Right, since the year 2000, there have been over 300 original jazz works grants awarded. And this program is specifically for jazz ensembles in the US, the territories, and Indian country. And again, it's for supporting the creation, performance, and recording of new jazz works. And we will actually have an upcoming workshop for this. So it's putting it on everyone's radar. That will be coming up within the next couple weeks. And we'll be able to talk more about what that looks like for jazz band leaders, how the new work process can work for that ensemble leaders or the members of the ensemble or collective. The deadlines, which are not on our website yet, because that's still under development. So again, the sneak peek portion of things. The deadline's going to be Thursday, January 29th, 2026. So that's important to make sure that you have on your calendars. and that notification is going to be June of 2026. And the grant period is again a longer grant period, 3 years, July 1st of 2026 through June 30th of 2029. For more information, once that all goes live on the website, you'll be able to contact either myself or my colleague Adriana Vergara, Grant Programs Associate, and her information is not only here in the presentation, but also on the website. So the empowerment, impact, and growth grants are one of the things that I'm really excited about. I've had the chance just this week to talk to a couple folks about how this was up and coming, which was great. But the empowerment, impact, and growth grants are an outgrowth of the Performance Plus grants that we had in the past. So it's going to be offering support for producing jazz recordings and performances alongside those recordings, right? A release concert, along with professional development for jazz ensembles. And then ensembles will be able to use that grant, right, to work towards producing a recording project. So while there are some echoes in here that you can clearly see between New Jazz Works and the Empowerment, Impact, and Growth Grant, the real focus that and the real differentiator, right, is going to be this professional development component, which we're excited to roll out. It allows us to engage with the grantees as part of the grant through a structured curriculum that's developed over the first 10 weeks of the grant period. But it's also going to be, as I'll talk about soon, open to the membership at large. So what this grant particularly will do is equip artists with practical business skills alongside those recording dollars, right? To help support long-term career sustainability beyond the initial project support. And that looks like 5 essential areas. So strategic planning, financial literacy, operational management, and the marketing strategies and technology skills. This program will create 10 grants in the amount of $20,000 each. And it is, again, a component of the Doris Duke Jazz Ensembles project and funded by the Doris Duke Foundation. You'll be able to learn more on CMA's website soon. The deadline for this particular grant is going to be February 5th of 2026, a Thursday. It'll be notifications will happen on March 26th, and then the grant period will be April 1st of 2026 through September 30th of 2027. And similar to the New Jazz Works grant, you'll be able to contact myself or my colleague Adriana to get more information. The workshop for that will happen either in late December or in very early January. So diving a little bit more into that CMA Impact Accelerator, as I mentioned, it is geared towards the folks who are in that grant program, but it's also available to CMA membership at large. There are continuing educational workshops that are designed not just for jazz music professionals, but also for chamber music professionals at large, so classical, contemporary, and also folks in the world music or the genre agnostic category, as it were, who are working between genres to bolster their business insight, but also stay rooted in your creative practice and the work that you do. So there'll be a series of 2-hour workshops. Participants will be able to gain practical tools for management and strategies of ensembles, right, of their work as presenters. And it's all about gathering new insights and new perspective for the work that you're doing in the creative sector. So again, that strategy and operations, finance and fundraising, which is very important now, but is always important and working in the back of all of our minds, right? Marketing, communications, and then technology specifically for ensembles. But as we get more feedback on this program, right, we'll be looking at what does that look like for new technologies for presenters or for presenters to engage with the technologies that they already have, which Could be everything from new ticketing systems to right to websites to sort of the whole gamut of how technology works in the presenting space. The workshops are going to be available during the grant period that I just mentioned, but specifically, they're going to be held on 5 Tuesdays that we're selecting now between April of 2026 and June of 2026. So it will be sort of over a 2.5 to 3 month period, right, that those workshops will be happening for folks to plug into. And we'll have more information on that forthcoming as well in January as we develop that out. Finally, we have CMA's professional network. CMA is launching a mentorship program that's designed to connect seasoned professionals with CMA members who are seeking guidance. And we had a pilot program that we ran over the summer, and then that program was so successful, and we got such good feedback from it that we were able to launch it and present it to the membership at large. So we're really excited about this initiative because it's connecting all of you as a community of members, but also just as people to communicate the things that you know, the knowledge that you know, and share in that knowledge, and also share in the ways that folks can intersect sort of in their knowledge sharing, but also in the projects that they're able to work on. And this particular opportunity is available exclusively to CMA members. Is a 2 month mentorship program, and it's designed to connect seasoned professionals with CMA members who are seeking guidance in areas including business strategy, development, and organizational management. And right, it's sort of a soft echo to the much more robust and much more structured curriculum structure that we have for that Impact Accelerator. When the pilot originally launched in the summer, the initial mentors were actually CMA board members, and some of those CMA board members from various organizations are still interested in being part of that mentorship program. So there'll be some of the mentors that are part of this program. So, who can be part of this professional network? On the mentor side, it's experienced business or music professionals who have a passion for helping others, supporting creative ideas, and collaboration. On the mentee side, it's ensemble leaders or administrators who are seeking guidance. And those mentees must have a current active CMA membership. And one thing people will automatically note when they see this is that they probably have expertise that fits really well into being a mentor. And at the same time, we don't know what we don't know, right? So that means that we all sort of have this mentee aspect to the work that we do as well. And in some cases, right, we have folks who are willing to be the mentor on something that they're very well knowledge based in, such as marketing communications, but maybe they're also seeking some help on the financial and fundraising side. So folks can actually be part of both groups, and what we would do is tap into sort of what someone's expertise is and have that active conversation on the CMA side for the mentorship and the mentee work. So how does it work overall? So CMA staff, the team here at CMA will be working to connect mentors and mentees based on alignment of requests and areas of expertise. And those forms and the information is all located in your portal as a member on Neon One. And you can find those links also in the CMA accent. Once connected, what CMA does is connect the mentors who will work to understand what the mentees' needs, challenges, and strengths are. And then they're going to offer some resources to guide the mentee to make some decisions on whatever their challenge is and create some solutions. So it really is about the talk back about that communal aspect of getting in touch with folks. The initial meeting's 30 to 60 minutes, and it can be held in person, over the phone, right over Zoom for folks. and the mentee introduces their business challenge during that initial meeting. And then there's the option for subsequent meetings that can take place as the schedule allows during the 2 months that will have people linked together. Usually, the problem that or the challenge that folks have is discussed for anywhere between 1 to 3 sessions. We had some folks who very quickly were able to problem solve and troubleshoot, and that was great. And they sort of were able to go on to talking about other challenges that they were having and really get into a deeper discussion. Other folks were working on at a pace where they were looking at sort of a larger scale challenge or issue that they were questioning, and they had 2 or 3 sessions over that course of 2 months over the summer where they talked and sort of did some troubleshooting and came to a good solid next step that led to some positive movement in what they were stuck on. And then finally, the reminder for the CMA conference, August 20 through 23rd of 2026. And really, the conference this year is a response to the field and the voices of our members. So the new summer dates align better with booking cycles, with academic calendars, right with that summer energy that folks have at the end of the summer as they're rolling out of festival season and getting ramped up for what the fall can bring. And really, it aligns more artists, presenters, and industry leaders to be a part of that experience. And also, you avoid the polar vortex in the middle of winter, which would be exceptionally awful with lake effect snow, right, coming out of Chicago. And we have a quote here from Kevin and his excitement about the momentum of moving forward on things. But really, we're excited to be able to take this to one of our country's most dynamic cultural hubs and have a completely new experience and enhanced experience for you as the members who are able to attend the conference. Finally, just as a reminder for what our programs look like overall, but also for benchmarking as you think about the future and what your 2026 calendar looks like. Our grant programs are our artistic projects programs, which happens in the fall. Classical commissioning program, which typically happens in the spring, but we had some adaptability and flexibility and response in that responsive shift this year for individuals, and the press releases and announcements for all of our fall grants will actually be going out soon. We've been in panels all November and now into December, so those announcements will be hitting the accent very soon. The Empowerment, Impact, and Growth grants are going to be upcoming, as I mentioned, in January of 2026, and more information is going to be forthcoming very soon. Ensemble Forward, another one of our fall grants, right? So you'll be seeing that grant repeated next fall with those with all of our fall grants essentially having their go live periods happen in late August, early September typically. New Jazz Works up and coming in just the next week or so, and then Presenter Consortium for Jazz as another fall grant that will be coming up in August of 2026 for folks to apply to. And then finally, the one that's not listed here, those upcoming changes on the classical contemporary side and announcements which will be forthcoming in that January 2026 to February 2026 period, which we're excited to announce. Finally, a reminder, starting January 1st, the weekly Accent newsletter is going to be delivered to members only. So you'll want to sign in, check your membership status to ensure that you keep receiving the Accent and information about member-only opportunities. remember that the accent is really your place to go to for grant funding, for news from the field, exclusive content, including announcements, right? Like the announcement for today with this sneak peek, and then upcoming premiere details as well. Staying up to date, right? It's all about maintaining your membership. So definitely make sure to keep in touch with the membership department at large, with Julia, who was speaking right at the beginning of our conversation today. And then there's also financial assistance for membership available for those who are in need. Right, we understand that sometimes things get complex and that things are sometimes complicated, especially this time of year between the transition from one year to another. So if there's any of those sorts of challenges, any questions that you have about any of our programs, overall that can't be answered on the grant side solely, you can definitely always reach out to membership and advancement for questions. And your CMA membership, again, really is about that connectivity aspect, which we see in so many of the programs in today's sneak peek. Invitations to monthly focus groups and professional development sessions. And there's some exciting ones coming up, like that advocacy workshop, the print copy of the Chamber Music Magazine, the membership pricing for the national conference, listing in the membership directory. And then there's also access to add-ons such as the Clarion Instrument Insurance, our grant programs here that so many of you come to the workshops for, coming to the advancement department for advice and resources, and now the new professional network mentorship program, and then that project-based support program in terms of the Impact Accelerator. And once again, that upcoming, don't forget that Advocacy 101 for musicians, administrators, and presenters. That's going to be upcoming. Again, that's next Thursday, December 11th at 1 p.m. Eastern Time. And as always, you know how to reach us, and our information is on the website. But as a snapshot, you have it right here. So my email, Susan's email, and contact information. Adriana Vergara, our grant programs associate, Alba Tang, who is behind so many of the small notifications and things of that nature that you get from the grant programs department as our administrative assistant. And then finally, our membership contact right at the bottom.
Jose, do you mind if I say a few upcoming events that we have in the new year? We haven't posted them
Yes,
just yet.
definitely.
We are going to have a tax session. We know that tax laws are changing rapidly, and let's have a session to talk about it and make sure that you're filing your taxes as efficiently as you can. A reminder that CMA membership is a professional membership and it can be deducted from your taxes. The other sessions that we have coming up is a funding panel talking with three funders who give to specific cultural groups or want to see apologies, I had COVID, unfortunately, from my Thanksgiving travels. So we'll be talking with funders about giving to cultural groups, uplifting the voices, the compositions, things along those lines, and how that works in the United States. And we also will have some more programming coming up with advocacy. Really looking forward to that. And we have a lot of other things planned for this year. If you have any suggestions about topics that you'd like to see or people that you would love to hear from, we're all ears. So don't hesitate to reach out to membership. And also, we will be sending a survey. We're doing kind of an overview of all of the events that we've had recently and the videos that you can access and slides that you can access. And there will also be a survey where you can give your feedback. So just wanted to mention that very quickly. So let's go back to these programs and questions.
Oh, Susan, I see your hands up.
Yes, and hi everyone. Susan here again. And thank you so much, Jose and Julia, for organizing this. One other announcement that we have coming up in the next week, Accent, is our CMA Awards. That is going to be coming up next week. Please note that we have 6 different categories that can be applied for. There is a new nuance this year is that you can self-nominate for an award. And so anyway, one is the Ensemble Project of the Year, Commission New Work of the Year, Interdisciplinary Collaboration of the Year, Album of the Year, Community Impact, Presenter of the Year, and an Arts Advocate Award. So the deadline will be January 29, and there is going to be a soon to be released as of next week the guidelines and the application in the membership portal. You do need to be a member in order to apply for this opportunity, and we hope to hear from you because it was it's really a nice way to be recognized. There's $1,000 cash award, not cash, well, electronic funds transfer. There's no cash anymore. And there's a plaque and complimentary 1-year membership for a CMA. And the awards are going to be given at our conference in Chicago. So anyway, so January 29 will be the deadline for that opportunity as well. So thank you. Hope to hear from people.
All right, so I see some questions are starting to pop into the chat. Um, and I see the first one from Natalia here. In terms of opportunities as an individual, because of how CMA's mission works, right, our mission is for ensembles, 2 to 10 musicians, right, is the ensemble size that we give awards to. So the work would have to be done as ensemble work, not as individual work. Unfortunately, at this time, we don't have grants for individuals. And that is a question that we do get, but it's mission affiliated in terms of what that looks like. And you're welcome, Randy. Let's see, Monica, are there any ensemble requirements for Empowerment, Impact, and Growth grant? Yes, so for Empowerment, Impact, and Growth, that one is an ensemble related grant, right? So similar to New Jazz Works, the ensemble band leader applies with the recording project idea, but that recording project idea, in comparison to how Performance Plus was, right, is bolstered in a lot of different ways. So you are able to ask questions essentially in real time, right at the start of your project in each of those issue areas as you're thinking about what the recording is going to look like, how that's going to be marketed, right, to talk with those individual experts that will be leading each of those workshop sessions. So that's really the power in that program, is that for folks that are getting back into recording, right, it really is giving them all of the tools that they need to jump into the current landscape of how things are working in the recording space. And then for folks who are actively working on a new recording, right, and may have done a recording fairly recently, but are just looking to do it better or do it differently this time, right? They get all of those tools as well. And then for the folks who are not part of that grant program, right, they're able to join into that particular program up until the cohort size is filled for that. And we're still trying to decide on what that cohort size looks like overall. But it looks like we should be able to have at least 40 spaces for that particular cohort, right? And only 10 of those would be connected to the grantees in the grant. So it really is a wide open space for other folks to be able to register, be part of that particular cohort. One thing that we're also looking at, and this is more a me hat being put on. We've had some questions at the grant department side of thing, basically asking for details on, all right, I don't necessarily need the marketing piece, or I don't need the right, like, two out of the three I'm okay on, or two out of the four I'm okay on. Um, is there a way to just buy into write a couple of those? We're working on seeing with those instructors from those courses if they can sort of do focused courses that are a couple sessions on just one particular topic. So if you're like, all I want to know is the fundraising and finance side of things, because that's where I'm really stuck on. Like the other stuff, I've either figured it out along the way, or like I know it well enough that I'm comfortable. Right? There'll be opportunities for those sorts of workshops in the future as well. We don't have a date for it yet, and this is super behind the scenes in terms of the sneak peek. Wasn't something I was going to mention, but we have a grant writing version of one of those workshops that's sort of our test pilot of what that would look like to do into as a deep dive. I'll actually be the one who will be giving that particular workshop. So it will be 2 to 3 workshop sessions, about an hour and a half to 2 hours for each workshop, to really do a deep dive into these are the ins and outs of grant writing. This is what makes a good grant, a bad grant, a good bio, a bad bio, and really dissect it, sort of have some breakout rooms, talk back sessions for folks to sort of share and network with each other about their own best practices, and really create a community engagement that way, to create a strong learning environment for people to sort of crack the nut, as it were, on the idea of grant writing. And then depending on how that particular initial workshop works, right, we'll be able to do deeper dives into these other types of sessions, everything from finance to technology. We've had some people ask about marketing communications, about social media specifically, about booking agents and how you get booking agents, and doing a deeper dive on that workshop that we had prior, and what that might look like. So there's lots of fun experimentation and positive experimentation that's happening for 2026. Yes, jazz ensembles at any point in their career are eligible to apply for that empowerment, impact, and growth.
We did recently announce some awardees. I don't know if you want to say something about that, Susan or Jose?
Uh, yes, I'd be happy to. So, we've recently we've made announcements about our Richard J. Bogomolny National Service Award that is going to be given to the Takash String Quartet. And then the Michael Jaffe Visionary Award is going to be given to Imani Wins. And our most recent panel selected the Cleveland Quartet Award recipient as the Poesis String Quartet. So lots of good announcements, lots of good activity here at CMA, and so as we'll be having them participate as well in the conference in Chicago. So everything points to Chicago.
Are there any other questions today? Yeah. Well, one thing I just want to mention while I have everybody here, for those that are an ensemble or a presenter organization, I want to remind you that you can add people to your membership. You can add 4 other people to as your colleagues, 5 if you don't include yourself as the person who just manages the account. And we really want you to do that because then all of your colleagues have access to these events just through their own login. They'll receive the Accent newsletter. They'll receive announcements about special benefits that we have, especially the conference, things like that. So I really encourage you to do that. It helps us know who our members are, and it also helps you and gives more value to your membership. So this is something when we transferred our CRMs that I was personally very excited about, because before we had a very limited capabilities within our system. So that membership portal is really lovely and has a lot of information. It may not look the prettiest. I'm sorry about that. In the future, it will look better. But yes, organizations and ensembles, please add people to your account. Really, really worthwhile. So, yeah. Any other comments or questions or feelings?
And one thing to note as well, and we experimented with this in this past grant cycle, is having some open office hours where folks can just drop in. We're sort of just hanging out on the Zoom, sort of this style, minus this many people on the Zoom. And folks will just drop in and sort of ask sort of a public forum question that's connected to a particular grant or something of that nature. If it's something that's a little more of a deep dive and more personal, we'll have the other team members on the call. So we actually created a couple breakout rooms, and Adriana was like on standby to pop into that breakout room with someone if they had like something that was more one-on-one, versus if they had something that was more sort of general and it was like, I just have like a question about clarifying this, and then they sort of just popped off. So we'll be hosting more of those in the spring as well for those sort of pop in, drop in questions where it's like you might feel weird sending that email and saying like, oh, I know I just asked them like a bunch of questions, or I just asked Adriana a bunch of questions, and now I have like this last minute thing that came to mind and I don't want to bother them. Bother us. Right. And this is your opportunity. We're making it easy for you. Definitely drop in, ask those questions, so that way you get your questions answered, right? We always want to make sure that you're putting your best foot forward. If not for our grants, for other grants that may be in the area. We actually had someone drop in on one of those calls and say, I actually don't think I'm quite ready for the CMA grant. As they were reading through it, they're like, but what other grants do you know in the field that are connected to this particular theme or this particular topic of a CMA grant? And I'm like, let's get you the list, right? Let's have this conversation and talk about it. So we're also willing to have those conversations as well and help out that way, right? We really are your resource, especially as members, to get the help that you need to ask those questions, right, and get those questions answered, at least to the best of our ability. And when we don't know, we'll tell you we don't know, but we'll definitely let you know what might be the next possible resource that you can reach out to, right, for that next step. We won't leave you hanging.
It looks like we have a
And then
few
let me
more
see.
questions about awards. Um,
Yeah, I see one for where the Chicago conference will be held. So that Chicago conference is going to be held at the Drake Hotel in Chicago. And then the Presenter Consortium for Jazz Awards are going to be announced not next week, but the following week. The week of December 15th is when that announcement should go live for those. So in the next 2 weeks, those Presenter Consortium for Jazz Awards will be announced. And then I think there's a couple questions in that chat for you too, Susan, as I'm scrolling down.
So, just for clarification, the Commission and New Work of the Year Award, for example, that was given to Andrew Yee for a work that they had written for a presenting organization. And so it was a work that had already been written for which you would like to receive recognition. Maybe there was some tie-in, some greater theme, etc., as was the case for Andrew Yee's piece that was written for Chamber Music Troy. So I hope that clarifies that. And another question about where can you apply for for these opportunities? The CMA Awards, that application will be in the CMA membership portal, as is the performance opportunity portal, which membership is in the portal for the upcoming CMA conference. That deadline is tonight, as are the session proposals. So again, it's all through your membership portal. And we have our portal expert here, who is Julia. And if you have any questions about where to find these things, Julia can help guide where the exact links are. So, and it would be,
And a really easy way to access the links, and it's actually where I pulled in some of the language for today's presentation, is actually right out of the accent. So last week's accent actually has the information in there, and even I personally will sometimes skip going into Neon 1 first, and will actually use the accent links to get directly to where I need to go. The team has done a really great job on the Marcom side of always having exactly the link that is needed. So if you ever have a question and you're like, navigation feels kind of weird for me right now, and you don't want to ask us, definitely the accent is your first stop. And then, of course, you can always ask.
One quick thing is that people usually don't realize that they are not signed up for Accent. If you unsubscribed from emails previously, you will not be receiving that. We have emails going out to our members through Neon One, which you should all be receiving as members. And Accent, it's our public newsletter as well. Like Jose mentioned, we are changing that to be a member benefit starting in January, because the information in Axon is more global, if you will, and not just member focused. So when we make that change, I'm really excited for you to get that information along with membership updates in your email box. And here is these, of course, doesn't say the link, and you can see if you're subscribed or not. And I think you said midnight, Susan, right? Yeah, you said midnight is the deadline for the proposals. And again, these sessions are. We need to hear from you. What do you want to hear? What do you want to present? And it's a wonderful chance to shine. So yeah, I know it feels early because August feels a million years away. It really does, but it's not. Great. Any other questions? Awesome job. Thank you, Jose. You're amazing. I'm so excited about
Thank you.
these new programs. They're so exciting for our members.
As things roll out, definitely feel free, right, to jump on the schedule with me. If you need that from me, it's always in my email signature. Let me actually pull it up now and put it in the link, but you can always book a time to talk with us. And if you can't book a time to talk with us on the scheduler, because all of the time slots are full, you can always reach out to us individually to schedule a time to talk. We usually have a couple secret hours banked in our week, unless it's a really wild week. The only times I would say where it's kind of a blackout period for us would be something like this fall, where we had 4 grant deadlines on the same day. So 1,000 members all contacting at 4 o'clock on the day of a grant is a little bit of an impossibility. So we were on a blackout for the day of the deadline. But everything before then, we were able to answer those questions. And then that day became only the absolute like crisis of someone, for example, their submittable account got stuck. So we had to like call submittable headquarters to unfreeze it. Things of that nature are sort of the questions that we ask or that we answer on that day. Well,
See
thank you
y'all
so much,
later.
everyone.
Have a good one. Thank you so much for your membership and for being here today. I really appreciate it. See you.